Welcome to The Lab Entrepreneur, the podcast where we dive into the journeys of innovators and founders reshaping the healthcare and lab industry. I'm Elias Hara, CEO and co-founder of Medfire. Today, we are thrilled to have Adam Al-Hosseini, CEO of Access Medical Labs. Founded by his parent and oldest brother in 2003, Access Medical has a story rich in determination, innovation, and growth. We will explore Adam's journey, the hurdle he's faced, and his vision for the future. Whether you're just starting a lab or scaling one, this episode has something for you. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you, Elias. How are you?
I'm very good. Yourself?
Excellent. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Let's start at the beginning, Adam. Every great story has an inspiring beginning, and I want to hear you about what inspired your parent to start the lab, and how did the idea of Access Medical Lab came about?
Sure. So my parents actually, came to New York from Egypt. And when they got to New York, they always excelled at every single hospital they worked at, right? So they always ended up being a supervisor, then a manager, and then a lab director of many prestige hospitals in New York. And in 2001, they decided to move to Florida. They were tired of the cold weather up there and all that. And when they came to Florida, they noticed that the landscape was very different. In New York, there's a lot of private labs, as I'm sure you know. But in South Florida, it wasn't the same. So it was really, ran by the big, your LabCorp and your Quest. And so they saw a big gap in the market, right? And that was speed, it was service, and it was, painless blood draws. So they decided to start a lab in 2003 right here in Jupiter, Florida. And we really were servicing the community. And that was the whole pitch. You get next day results, better customer service, and better blood draws.
So Adam, I understand they started from scratch. And how they funded it? From their own money?
Yeah, they funded it from their own money. And it was not easy. I know they were looking for investors in the time. And it was very difficult to find someone who wanted to put up the cash. So they had to make it work themselves, and it was very challenging. You know how it is, juggling bills, trying to pay this one and extend this one. But all in all, they were able to make it happen and get to profitability. And boy, I tell you, the people who would have invested would have made a killing now. But they didn't have the vision.
I know what you mean.
So.
I can relate to that. When I started my business, I had to mortgage my house a couple of times, ended by selling it. And I'm pretty sure 74 doors I knocked, do you regret not investing in Medfire in 2010? Adam, at what time did you personally join the business, and what was the experience like?
I joined in 2004. I was a kid, and I was doing entry-level jobs, basically helping the family, with the new business. So at that point, I'm coming in, I'm doing anything from mopping floors on the weekend to doing data entry and answering phone calls, just doing everything that was needed to assist. And I think I used to make, at first I made nothing. And then I remember I would get $30 cash every week. And I was so happy because I could go to the movies. So I would work all week to get the $30 so I could go to the movies. I mean, this is, when it was back then. So I was really just helping. But on a serious note, starting at that ground level allowed me to learn so much, because as the business grew and as I grew, I was able to learn more and more about the lab industry, about what clients need, and about what it takes to really just run a business, right? Laboratory is very complex. It's not just any business. It's not a restaurant or, this is highly regulated. You're dealing with healthcare. You're dealing with patient care. You're dealing with lives. You're dealing with the highest of regulatory standards. And then you have to deal with the business side as well, which is, how do I generate revenue? How do I become profitable? So you have two, very complex worlds that come together, right? Which is business and healthcare, and put it together.
So 2004, we are here at 2025. That's 21 years of experience, man. At what time you became a CEO?
Sure. So COO happened during COVID. And just to harp on your previous question, so everything from customer service to data entry to billing to courier to then finally when I graduated high school, that's when I got into sales full time. And then joining sales really helped me see my skill sets flourish, right? Because not only was I good at sales, I was good at leading, communicating, getting people to see the vision of the company. And that's kind of how I grew into operations, because when you start selling, you really want to cater to the client. And while you're catering to the client, you start noticing operational flaws because they're calling you with the complaints. And that helps you kind of see a nice 360, vision of what's going on. And you try to bridge the gap of servicing the client, but also having an efficient operation. And so from there, I got into operations, became the VP of Ops, and then COO was during COVID. So I was COO for probably 3-4 years now.
Awesome. Allow me to double click on, you mentioned something very important that most entrepreneurs starting new labs struggle with, which is finding and winning customer. How did you approach this challenge of this building a solid and large customer base?
I think what we do is we listen. We listen to our clients. I noticed, I've spoken to many other individuals who've either run a lab or own a lab, and a lot of the time they have an approach of where they want to offer the products that they think are important or the tests that they think are important. We have a different approach. We want to listen to the clients, listen to the physicians, and whatever they need, we're willing to do. And of course, we do educate them and try to guide them to the proper, tests that we believe are beneficial. But to your question, which is how do we win clients and keep them, is we listen. We listen to them, and we want to do whatever it takes to keep them happy.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure today, customer and client finds you, right? I think Access Medical, very known in South Florida. I know your business is blooming and growing. Adam, was there a pivotal moment that shaped your vision, Adam's vision for Access Medical?
Yes. Yeah. I think in 2017, that was definitely an inflection point because, we sold our regional book of business to LabCorp, which was the whole South Florida territory. And that was the, primary focus of our business for the past, 14 years at that time. And from there, we had to focus solely on nationwide expansion. So all states except New York. And that's when the marketing changed, the branding changed, our pitch changed, and we were able to essentially 10x our business in a matter of, 6 years. So that was really the pivotal moment. And at that point, I really had, in 2017, my brother Ryan had left to LA, and I really had to step up basically in his seat. And he was, leading the company at that time. And so that's when things had shifted. And I was very much pleased at what I was able to learn during that experience. I learned so much sitting in that seat and kind of gripping the wheel as far as company direction.
Awesome. You mentioned 10xing the business, and I'm pretty sure behind every 10x, there is at least a secret sauce there. I don't want to go into the secrets of...
I can't give you the secret sauce.
Can you share with me a glimpse of... We are here to give a couple of advice for people starting the new labs. What would be your top 2-3 things that they can build their own secret sauce, but what are really the fundamentals of the things to scale the business 10x?
Okay, I can't give you secret sauce. That's no way. But I'll tell you, listen, I get your question, though. I think looking back, 3 key pillars. And once again, it's not just for success in the lab business. It's for success in a business, in my opinion. But 3 pillars is 1, have your value offer crystal clear. Who are you? How are you standing out from the rest? So that needs to be crystal clear. Number 2, have an exceptional team. A lot of the time people try to praise me or praise, the family, and I appreciate it. But in reality, without the right people on the bus, we're not going to get to where we need to go. So everything from whoever's leading your sales, leading your operation, definitely leading your laboratory and your regulatory and your compliance, all of this, you want to have the right people who you trust, who understand the vision, and who are going to stick with you. When you have a lot of churn and you have to keep replacing employees and this and that, it really disrupts the momentum for your growth. So I think that's probably a second pillar. And third is going to be work extremely hard.
It's not a secret. But I agree with you, Adam. I think start with people, and we're going to talk a lot about people in a moment. And I'm sure when you grew, you start feeling the pain of scaling a business and keeping everybody aligned. So how do we navigate that? How do we able to keep everybody still connected to the same mission, keep everybody motivated aligned?
So for me, looking back, and I have to give a lot of credit to, my mother, my father, of course, and my brothers. I think, and when a lot of people hear that it's a family business, they think of the challenges, and everyone knows that comes with a lot of arguing. It's tough. It's tough, right? But I think, to answer your question, which is, how do you get through those tough times? I think the same thing that we look at as a challenge, which is the family, I think helped us get through those tough times while scaling, because those who were leading the company, which was, the family and the key managers, all trusted each other. So that trust is critical to get through those tough times. And I also think the execution. So not only did we all trust each other, no one was BSing. Everyone came in every day, worked extremely hard, worked through the tough times, and we're all aligned. So alignment, trust, I think goes a long way.
Yeah. Can you talk about the particular tough challenge that you face as a team and how you overcame it?
Sure. There's so many. I'll tell you what. There was a time when we weren't even profitable. You understand?
Well, I understand that.
Yeah. So I think we all came together to the table, and it's a very tough discussion to have. But we spoke about it. We put a plan behind it, and we all executed. It's a lot of times during these interviews, people are expecting a very elaborate, big story, but it's usually it's not that complex. It really is us coming together on something so serious, which is not being profitable, talking about the problem, assessing, okay, what are we going to do about it, and then feet to the ground and move, and that's it.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of trust and honesty in the process, Adam. I'm pretty sure those are key elements to talk about the real shit there and lay down the plan, and everybody trust the other person in the team to do and execute on their own thing, and coming together every week and stuff start falling in place.
100%. Even when you look at, because you're asking me about challenges, that was extremely challenging, and not just for Access. That's, I think, anyone in the lab industry and anyone with a business. It's a scary time, right? I mean, your volume, your revenue gets cut in half literally in 1 week from the next, and you don't know what's coming, but the country is going to be shut down. So it's a scary place to be. But nonetheless, so March 16th, 2020, volume gets cut in half. We come to the table. What are we going to do? You can either create a COVID test or think it's a hoax and just say, no, we'll be fine in a week. We decided we're gonna start the tests. We could not even find swabs. I mean, we had to find resources in China. It was unbelievable. You couldn't get instruments. You couldn't get anything. I'm not going to give you the secret sauce, but we were able to secure a lot of items that were needed. We developed our own method, and long and behold, first week of April, we had our COVID test. We pre-sold swabs to clients to generate revenue. So we didn't even have a test yet, but we pre-sold swabs to them at $120 a pop. And first week of April, we were live. And now, had we chose to go the other direction, like some labs did, we would have sat on the sidelines for 2 years without a COVID test. So these decisions are critical. And that's why it's important to have a great team that you come to the table to and have these discussions with. Because like I said, there were many labs that thought, we're not going to waste our time with this test. We'll just sit back and it'll be over in a month. And that's sadly not the case.
A great story, Adam. I want to pick your mind about another market dynamic and trend that's happening today in the market. Many independent labs are being acquired by large corporations like LabCorp and Quest. What's your take on this trend, and how you say resilient and competitive?
I'm not opposed to it at all. I think it's how that's just how business works. It's not just in the lab industry. If no matter which industry you want to go into, that's typically what's going to happen. If you get to the size that is deemed attractive enough and you're taking up enough market share, you're going to get acquired by the bigger ones. If that's what you want to do, right? Some people don't want to sell and they want to keep going. I think it's great if it makes sense for the owners at the end of the day.
And for Access Medical, do you see it as a threat or as an opportunity for you guys to differentiate and be better positioned on the market?
I think right now it makes sense for Access to remain as Access, because the one thing I would be worried about is, a larger company acquiring us and then turning us into their brand. And then at that point, what's Access, right? We're very different. We do things differently. We have a different outlook in the industry. So I think it would have to be a very strategic opportunity for it to make sense, not just from a selfish place where I want to preserve the Access brand, but even to our customers. They really do enjoy the service that's being provided, and they value the service that's being provided. So it would be remiss to us to let that go away.
Yeah. FDA regulation.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes very sense. It makes sense. In my opinion, I spoke with many labs. The great ones see it as an opportunity to differentiate. I think what you can offer in terms of proximity to the customers and agility and creativity, I think there's a gap to fill. There's a gap to fill, and there's a market to acquire. But you really need to be able to scale from low accession to a high volume of accession or decent volume of accession to be able to compete. But once you get to this level, I think you have an opportunity to easily differentiate compared to these big corporations. Agreed.
And that's actually a great point. That's one of the most challenging parts of running a lab.
Yeah. In 2024, FDA regulations on LDTs, laboratory developed tests, were a hot topic. Do you think it's going to remain a hot topic in 2025? And are these new regulations something you're concerned about?
Of course, because we have quite a few LDTs. So we're always monitoring just to understand, what does this mean for us? How do we pivot? What instruments do we need to acquire to run it on a actual FDA authorized, method, etc. So we're watching it closely. We have quite a few salivary hormone assays that are done on mass spec, along with some serum hormones, but it's not a significant portion of the business to where I'm, not too concerned with it. Whatever we need to do, we're going to do ultimately. And I have our regulatory team as well as our R&D team are very closely on that.
Awesome. And looking to the future, where do you see growth opportunities for labs, and what challenges might lie ahead?
Absolutely. I see a lot of growth and opportunity when it comes to precision medicine. I think that's a big one. I think a lot of the new molecular tests that are, especially cancer assays, by the way, that are being preventative, right, to help people avoid getting to, stage whatever cancer and things like this, where we can get people at a young age to know if they're genetically inclined to have cancer and whether it's the colon or the breast, etc. So I think precision medicine is definitely going to be a hot one for many labs. I'm trying to think what other tests caught my attention. Telomere testing is a big one, which also helps with the lifespan of an individual, right? Based on the length of their telomeres. I think that might be a hot one in the future. I'm trying to think. That's what comes to mind right now.
Is pathology an area that you see growth in this segment?
We don't do pathology at this time. And for us, it's not something we're interested in at the moment.
Yeah. To keep us connected to labs, my team and myself, we visit a lot of labs. And something that struck us when we visit Access Medical is the level of automation. You're one of the most sophisticated and automated lab that we know. And how do you approach and integrate new technologies and tools, whether it's AI and anything? How do you capitalize on technology and innovation to enhance your positioning on the market, your efficiency on the market, and compete on the market?
Absolutely. So the only way to get the job done, in my opinion, is to constantly bring on the latest technology, the automation, especially with the promise we have to our clients, right? We promise them speed. That's one of our, we promise them speed, we promise them quality, we promise them service. So for us, especially as you begin to scale, we're not doing 200 accessions, 500 accessions, 1,000 accessions, okay? We're doing thousands of patients per day. The only way to achieve this is by having automation, unless you want 500 people in your building moving samples around, or unless you want to have 500 mislabeled, tubes every day, or missing samples, right? So we try to mitigate the risk of all those errors. We want to be as efficient as possible.
I appreciate a lot, Adam, the aggressive approach and the proactive approach you take regarding technologies. What you look in partners when you're selecting a technology?
One's going to be the technology itself, right? We want to make sure that it's, reliable, robust, efficient, and the quality's there. That's number one. We don't shop around for the cheapest price, and that's not how we operate. We're looking for quality. Someone, once again, that's aligned. Any partner of ours is an extension of our business. So we need to make sure that we view the industry the same, and that we view service the same, and that we view quality the same. Those must be aligned for us to partner with you. Next is going to be the actual customer service piece. How responsive are they, right? Do they get back to us in a timely fashion? Are they eager, to serve us? What's their support look like? Those are probably the key things we look for before making a decision. Of course, depending on how large of a partner, you're talking.
Awesome.
Sometimes it can take up to a year just for us to sign with a new partner because we have a very thorough vetting process.
Awesome. Earlier in this podcast, you mentioned team is key, and everybody agrees that culture eats strategy at breakfast. And how you hire, what qualities do you look when you're hiring?
Absolutely. So of course, once again, depending on the role, but of course, if it's someone in the lab, you got to have the proper credentials, of course. But aside from that, we really look for the person. We invest in the person, we invest in people. That's key. So we're looking at everything from their mannerisms to their sheer energy, their willpower. We look for how they speak, how they communicate. Are they proactive? Are they reactive? Are they positive? Are they a pessimist? We're looking for a lot of those qualities to make sure they're going to be a culture fit. That's probably the main thing, we do in vetting individuals. And when it comes to some of the other roles that don't necessarily require a degree, we'll take someone, it could be someone who just graduated high school. But if they have the right, character, personality, respect, and we feel like it's someone who's going to be loyal, we'll bring them into our culture and build them up. We'll build people up here at Access. And I've taken people who were 18 and now they're making over $300,000. So 10 years later. So it really, we like I said, we look for the person first, and then we can build from there.
Do you feel today that your entire team and people share the same understanding of the vision and mission you have, and they have common characters together?
100%. We are more united than ever. 2024 was our best year in company history. We served the most patients, period. Even if you look at COVID years,
okay,
we serviced more last year than we did with even COVID. That's how, many patients and how many lives we've touched last year, which is a tremendous accomplishment. But you don't get there without the right people. And it was extremely challenging because what's happening is, and you back to your question about, acquiring in the lab space, right? A lot of people sell because to get to that next level, it's brutal. So you're better off just selling it, let LabCorp or whoever, Quest absorb it, or CPL or whoever, Sonic, they'll absorb it and get it off your hands, and that's it. You don't have to worry about that scalability piece, because to get the right processes, people, space, technology to be able to service 10,000 accessions a day, 20,000 accessions a day is not a walk in the park. It really isn't. So, but yeah, does that answer your question, or did I veer off?
No, perfect. And what are the top KPIs that you prioritize and track regularly?
It depends. It depends where, right? Our finance team is looking at everything from revenue to EBITDA to COGS and SG&A. But if you're talking about the laboratory itself, I think the main things is based on department, right? Because mass spec, micro, hematology, chemistry, everyone should have their own set of KPIs because each one is kind of functioning a little bit independently, right? Mass spec is not connected to the automation that's in chemistry. It's two different areas. So everyone should have their own set of KPIs that are reporting daily, looking at everything from what's been completed, what's been pending, total accessions, any errors that occurred on the instruments, what was downtime, what was uptime. All of those things are critical on a daily. Then you have your weekly, your monthly, and quarterly KPIs, but daily, I think total completed, total pending, downtime, uptime, those are your key KPIs.
Correct. Adam, can you share a leadership lessons that have been particularly valuable in your career and your growth as a person and as a leader?
Absolutely. I'll share two. One is listen more, talk less. Next is going to be roll your sleeves up with your team and show them that you'll get right in there with them and you're always there to support.
And where do you see Access Medical in 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10 years, I see us as probably the largest independent specialty lab in the country. And I see us with probably another lab. Right now, we have our core lab here in Florida. I think we would probably have acquired another lab to operate on maybe the opposing coast in 5 years.
Awesome. And what's your perspective on how the lab industry will evolve? And if you can share with us that step that you think small labs should take to prepare for these challenges. I know it's a tough question, but I want to be able to kind of pick your vision on how you see this lab landscape shaping and what are the steps and preparations that needs to be done by smaller labs to be able to keep up with this change.
That's a tough one. Yeah, that's a wow. It's hard to say. I right now, I mean, we're doing what we do. We're constantly looking for newer tests to adopt. As far as landscape shifting, it's hard for me to answer that because over the years, we usually get surprised with certain things. Like if Medicare is going to cut back on payments, that makes it very challenging for a newer lab to start. I think it's much harder to start a lab today than it was in 2003 when we did, because Medicare is probably paying 50% less than it was back then. Insurance payers are making it more and more challenging to get paid. So I think it's a bigger challenge today. But to your question, as far as the landscape shifting, it's hard to say because these regulations come out of nowhere. Yeah. From one year to the next, you can get a regulation that changes the whole dynamic of how you're going to operate in the lab space. So for now, all I can say is, we're constantly just looking for what's the latest test that our clients would want and what tests bring the most value, from gut health to precision medicine, etc.
And Adam, if you can offer one piece of advice to someone starting their own lab today, what would it be?
Okay, great question. What I would say is this. One, make sure you're adding value in the diagnostic space, okay? And I would start within your community. And what I mean by that is, anyone can rent out a 3,500 square foot facility. Anyone can call Siemens and get an instrument. Anyone can, hire a lab tech and lab director. It's not just about having a lab, okay? It's about adding value in the diagnostic space. So I would start with the community and make sure you have something unique that you're bringing to the table. And then two, another piece of advice is to listen to the customer. So when you're starting in your community, you're going to get calls with complaints and people are going to say, why are you doing this? Or why are you doing that? Don't take it personal. Listen, use it as constructive criticism to make your lab better. So those would be my two pieces of advice.
Thank you so much, Adam.
You're welcome.
Is there any decision you made in the past, a business decision you made that you regret?
I started so young, so I know I made a lot of mistakes in my career, but my good decisions outweighed my mistakes, so I don't have regrets. I'm happy where we're at, and we're going to keep moving forward.
Awesome. And if you could go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self as you embark on this journey?
I would say listen more and talk less.
Awesome. Adam, thank you so much for sharing your insight and experience. Your journey with Access Medical is a true inspiration to lab owners and to entrepreneurs.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. For our listeners, we hope today's conversation has offered valuable lessons and motivation for your own journey. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more insight from industry leaders. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, stay innovative and keep growing. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Lab Entrepreneur Podcast, brought to you by LabGen LIS, your laboratory information system powered by Medfar. If you're a startup or an established lab looking to optimize your operations, streamline your workflows, and enhance patient care, be sure to tune in for more episodes. Visit our website for more information today at labgenlis.com and unlock your lab's full potential.